Today we're doing some cheap woodworking. I bought some 4x8s from Home Depot for $25 each, and then spent about 6 hours carving it into this bench. All in, I spent about $30 on materials and supplies, and here's how I did it. I picked through about 16 other 4x8s, and this was by far the nicest one. I cut 14 inches off of either end to make the two legs. I used my Kreg portable CrossCut to guide my circular saw. A 4x8 is 3.5 inches thick, so I either had to make 2 passes with the circular saw, or 1 pass, and then finish with my Japanese pole saw. This is a pretty hefty fir beam, so I felt comfortable removing a lot of material, so I just drew some swoopy curves and tried to get the lines relatively symmetrical on either side. I'm using one of these King Arthur carving discs on my angle grinder, link in the description, and here is how much material I was able to remove in the first 4 minutes. This kind of power carving can go quite fast, and here's how I carved down the ends in 5 minutes of actual labor. Angle grinders are powerful, and I'm just creating a ton of dust, so if you want to remove some bulk, you can use a Japanese pole saw to make some cuts across the grain, and then use a katana or machete to chop out some nice big chunks. I was really just looking for an excuse to use a sword in a woodworking project. I was pleasantly surprised though to see that I was able to stay within my lines using this very hack method, but I decided to go back to the greater control of the angle grinder. I love this kind of power carving and making up the design as I go, but it's helpful to do it in an open space where you can step back away from the project and kind of see it from a distance just to make sure you're mostly symmetrical. I knew I didn't want any part of the benchtop to be thinner than 1 inch, so I was able to confidently remove a lot of material and just periodically checking that thickness. I want the legs to be relatively symmetrical, so I remove some blocks off of the top 2 corners of each of the leg pieces. This just gives me a little more proportional information as I go back to freehand power carving. Now I could tell you a story about how I looked at the wood grain and tried to understand what sort of shape this piece of wood wanted to be, but no, I think much more simply than that. I know that this grain has dramatic stripes, and that dramatic stripes look cool when they're going through curved 3D shapes. For the first leg, I clamped it down on his side and really focused on the wide profile. I want to remove a lot of material to give it a more curvy and kind of muscular appearance, but I also don't want to remove so much that the bench becomes either unstable at the base or too weak at the connection to the bench top. So I took my time with this first one and kind of kept just nibbling away at it since I was a little afraid of carving out too much. The curve on the carving disc created these concave grooves, which I thought could be an interesting aesthetic, although I ultimately went with a more smooth and continuous profile. Now that I had the rough shape established on the first leg, the second leg went a lot faster. I also found that using my angle grinder almost like a CNC worked pretty well, where I just slowly removed material in 1/2 inch layers or passes at a time. I also used a saw and a machete to hack away a little bit of excess material here. This contour style of carving, where you take passes in progressively lower depths, is a nice way to really establish great control over the angle grinder. You can kind of lock in and get your arms set close to your body and really hold the tool tight, and that gives you a good degree of precision. I used the diameter of the carving disc to turn those grooves into a more fluid curve. I did a quick fit check where I just set the 3 pieces together, and it looked pretty good, but was like way too chunky and still felt too beam-like. So I used 80 grit sanding pads on my Orbital sander and really started to smooth out the legs and blend all the curves together. I then traced the outlines of the legs on the underside of the bench top. I'm going to create a mortise in the bench top using my palm router. And I just did this by hand, and again, really focused on controlling the tool so that I could precisely follow the lines. I only went about 1/2 inch deep on this first pass, with the focus really being on accuracy. I then switched to a wide diameter flush trim bit that allowed me to quickly hog out another 1/2 inch of depth. This bit had a bit of a radius on it though, so my legs wouldn't fit cleanly into the mortise. So I did a third and final pass with another flush trim bit, this time with a flat bottom or top or head or whatever the end of the router bit is. That gave me a nice clean wood hole, which then allowed me to see precisely where the legs were going in, which enabled me to aggressively carve out a more sinewy and curvy profile for the bench top. I did another fit check and still felt that the sides looked a little too flat, so I carved from the top down to sort of create some haunches and completely remove any flatness on the side profiles. I then got out the Orbital sander and smoothed out all those aggressive carving marks from the angle grinder. This is the one part where kind of skill comes into play. The more steady your hands are with the angle grinder, the less you gouge into the wood and the less sanding you have to do with the Orbital sander. But patience can make up for skill in this type of project. My mortises ended up about 1.5 inches deep, which I think is plenty considering how tightly the legs fit into them. But if you want to make it stronger, you could recess some holes from the top and use some 5-inch lag screws to really anchor that in, and then cut a wood plug, cover them up. I thought I was done sanding and ready for finish, but as I wiped away the sawdust, I saw that there's a few little gouge marks here and there, so I had to go back with the Orbital sander and sand those down. For a big chunky solid wood project like this, I typically would use an oil finish, because fir isn't the hardest wood. It's not soft like pine, but it's not quite as hard as oak, and it's a little splintery. And I just figured with oil, if it got scratched, you can just kind of buff it out and would have a nice hand feel to it. But fir is already so orange, and I felt like oil would just make it too intensely vibrant orange. So I went with Minwax polyacrylic in a matte finish. I'm really happy I salvaged that piece from Home Depot. I really don't think I've made too many projects where there was such a difference between the price I could sell the end product for and the cost of the materials. As a designer, I really like working with low-cost materials because I feel like it enables me to be more aggressive and take more risks with the shape and form of the project. So next time you're in Home Depot, walk through that lumber aisle. Sometimes there's some really nice pieces of construction lumber buried amongst all the warped and twisted pieces. Links in the description. Thanks for watching. Bye.